When you sit back there behind a pole or a wall and you sit there and listen to yourself, I'm sitting there going, wow, ooh, who is that? First of all, I want to tell you all, I'm excited because I want you all to know that big things happen in small packages. Big things happen in small packages. And so when I saw the group, I said, this is perfect. Because that means what goes in here. So let's shut the door. Shut the door. Shut the door. Shut the door. Let me just tell you a little bit about me and why I'm doing what I do. I started off doing hair about 30 years ago. I was 16 years old. My mother was a single parent. My father left when I was 3. And so it was sort of difficult for us. And I needed to make some money to have some nice school clothes. You know how that is when you go back to school. And I needed to make some money. So I said, well, what am I going to do? And at that time, during that time, we had a curl. You all remember the curl? It was carefree for me. And so I went and got my curl done, and I watched the steps. Straighten, roll up, neutralize, and pull out. Straighten, roll up, neutralize, and pull out. So I kept watching the woman, and I said, I could do that. And so I watched one more time, that third time, and I said, I am going to do this. So I started doing clients in my mother's basement when she was at work and she didn't know. Well, I'm going to get to the good stuff. So I was building my clientele and people were sneaking in the house and nobody knew what was going on. So one day, you know how you all do. How many of you all have children? One day, Mom came home early. And she couldn't get in her driveway because there were so many cars in the driveway. And in front of the house, she was like, I know this boy ain't having no party. And I'm thinking to myself, now why would she think that it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon? But we're in school, so of course she would say this. Came in the house, and you can hear her yell, Keith, where are you? And I'm down in the basement, so I run upstairs. And as I'm running up the steps, she runs down the steps, and she sees all these women in our basement looking at the stories. And she says, come here. And you know how you all do that little bottom? Come here. So I go upstairs, and she said, I don't know what's going on, and I don't want to know what's going on. But you got 5 minutes to get these women out of my house. I don't know what you're doing, and I don't want to know about it. And I'm going to pray for you later. I'm going to beat you later. This is what she said. I'm going to beat you later. I said, Mom. I said, but get them out. So she started going upstairs, and she went to the kitchen, because she said all of this on the steps. So I followed her behind her, and I went up the steps, and we got to the kitchen, and I went into my pockets, both pockets, and I took all this money out, and I just did like this. And so, you know how you all hate to be wrong, right? She turns around, and she goes into the kitchen, and then she comes out of the kitchen the other way, and she has on an apron. She said, do they need something to eat? So she went in the kitchen and started frying chicken, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, and you know it takes a while to make cornbread, so she went and got Jiffy, and she mixed it up with some milk, and it was done in 20 minutes, and they was eating in Jerry Curl. It was Jerry Curl eating up in there for days. And so that's how I got started. And it was difficult for us because she was a single parent. But as I went through life, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do, I wanted to just touch lives, and I wanted to bless lives with what I do. And so as I got older, I started learning life experiences. See, when you're a hairstylist or you're in the style business, you connect with people. You touch people. Their spirit becomes you, and you become their spirit. So you have to be open. Some of that stuff you don't want. But some of that stuff, you just have to be there and accept it. And so I went on and I heard all the different stories. Oh, I'm getting a divorce. Oh, I've been diagnosed with breast cancer. Oh, I'm losing my home. I've lost my car. I haven't seen my child in 3 days. And this, that, and the other. And over the years, I'm hearing these stories. Over the years. And then we get to the 15th year. And now the 30th year. So I grew up in this business since I was 16. 15, actually. And I know I don't look 43. Okay. Look, it was like, no, I don't. But one of the interesting things is I realize I have a story. And I have a lot of stories that are in with me that I need to start teaching people about. See, you can, and I'm sure you all with your consulting company and with your company of coaching and that type of thing, and I'm sure you all are into that. But one of the great things about coaching is that you can put in life experiences, not just on what you're taught, but what you learned. And you combine those two together, and you are a force to be reckoned with. So I decided, okay, I'm going to give people life experiences from behind the chair. And I began to go out and speak, and then speak, and then speak, and then speak. So fast forward. And let me just introduce you to my executive assistant, Leslie. Leslie, please stand. Now, this is a little hard for me, but I'm going to be okay through this. So, December of this year, no, last year, 2011, December 19th, my mom called me and told me she wanted me to take her to the doctors. And I said, okay. Didn't think anything of it. We went to a dentist. He was a, what is it? There's a dentist and then there's a orthodontist. Went to the orthodontist and they told me they were doing a biopsy. And he did the biopsy. My mother did not want the biopsy, but she knew that she needed the biopsy. And so she had a biopsy done, and 2 days later, they didn't call her, they called me and told me that she had cancer. And that she needed to go see a specialist, eyes, ears, and nose specialist. Went to the eyes, ears, and nose specialist at Washington Hospital Center. And then he told, he looked at everything and he saw where the cancer was and everything. And he pulled, he said, we're going to send you to, to get your chemotherapy and all of that stuff. But then he pulled me to the side and he said, your mom has 6 months to a year. And so I said, wow, okay. And so that was kind of difficult for me. Now, if we go back, I told you it was just me and my mom since I was 3. And Dad was gone, so it was just she and I. And you all know what I'm talking about. The relationship between a son and a mother by yourself. That's all I know. So I called Leslie on the phone, and she was talking about, we were on the speakerphone on the car, and we were laughing, and she said she was going to fight this, and so on and so forth, and it got worse. And she had all the treatments, and she was just so sick. So fast forward to maybe May. They told her that the tumor had become so big in her neck that it fractured her neck. And she had to have emergency surgery. So she went into emergency surgery, came out, and the doctor came in and said, your mom did very well in the surgery, but we have a problem. We didn't realize the tumor was so big in her neck that we could not take out the tube. I said, what? They said, we're going to have to leave the tube in, and she's going to be on a respirator. So I said, what? I said, oh. He said, just a couple of days. And so after the couple of days, and you all tell me when I run out of time, but I'm going to keep talking. This is going to be good. So after a couple of days, they told me, listen, it's something going on. We're going to have to do a trach. I said, why? And they said, because we need to take the tube out. She can breathe on her own, but we're afraid that we're going to have to, if we take the tube out, that her throat was going to close up. So they said, well, we'll do one more attempt, okay? So they did the Next attempt, and she couldn't breathe. They took the tube out, she couldn't breathe. They had to do an emergency trach, and then they put the trach in her throat. Now, from there, it was all downhill. And she got sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. So then, and I know Leslie remembers this, they told me they were just going to send her to hospice. There was nothing else that she could do. Took her to hospice, told me she had a couple of days to live. Got to hospice. We're sitting in, I don't know if you all are familiar with hospice, but we're sitting there, and I'm sitting there in the waiting area as they get her comfortable. And I received a call from the head surgeon at George Washington Hospital. He said, Dr. Harley, where are you? I said, I'm at hospice with my mother. He said, where? He said, I did not authorize that. I said, what you talking about? Willis. He said, your mom, I didn't authorize that. Your mom is not dying. I said, they gave my mom 2 to 3 days. He said, no. Your mother is not dying. So I told him just like this, and y'all know us. Yes. I said, let me tell you something. You got 2 minutes to get an ambulance here to pick my mother up and take her back to Georgetown. He said, no. He said, well, it's going to take a little longer. I said, I promise you, if you do not pick up my mother in 10 minutes, no, actually it was 20, excuse me. I said, I'm going to lift her up, carry her in my arms with an oxygen tank, put her in my car, and drive her through the emergency room door. And I mean it. And he said, I'll call you right back. Because he knew at that point, this was something that was serious to me. And so, 5 minutes later, ambulance showed up with 2 police escorts from the White House. And they zoomed her back to George Washington. Got there, she still had the trach. And, you know, things were a little quiet and subtle. And she was still getting sicker because, of course, the cancer was spreading. And so, time went on. The doctors at Georgetown said they're no longer going to work on her. You know, there's nothing else they can do for her. She is sick. I said, okay. And so I would go in. Now, mind you, she's in a trach. And I want you all to listen to what I'm saying to you all so that you understand the story and how it's going to relate to what we're going to talk about today. Okay? Sidebar. At Christmas, mind you, I told you that she had been diagnosed December 19th. I did not know that that was going to be a Christmas that meant something. At Christmas, I was always asked her, I said, Mom, why are you always been so strong? And she said, I have a strong constitution. I said, okay. So I kept that in my mind. And so fast forward, Mom became sicker. And she couldn't talk. She just laid there and would look at me. And so for that was very difficult for me to see her just going away. So I had to just wonder why, what can be done, what is going on? She's just laying there with a trach in her throat. You know, I don't know what's going on. And so my mother told me when I took her to the hospital when she couldn't take no more and she needed to be in the hospital, she told me, son, I want you to be strong and I want you to handle your business. This is what she told me the day I picked her up to take her to the hospital for the last time. Got to the hospital, this is all gone on, and then I couldn't understand what was going on. I would go see her and she'd just be looking at me like this, and she had that look on her face, was that look when I was doing hair in the basement. You get where I'm going? Yeah. And so I went to a woman who was my therapist, and you know, having a therapist is like having a Gucci purse. The best thing since sliced bread. Went to her and she said, Keith, I said, I don't know what's going on. I'm emotional. My mother is sick. I can't do anything. And she said to me, she's waiting on you. She's waiting on you to get right because she's ready. And I said, what? Wait, what are you saying to me? She said, Your mother is ready.